The following content is supported by victoris.org.
Okay, so error. Why do we see an error? Right? Let's see what the output is like. If we type the following code out on the left hand side, we see that there's an error thrown. And what does the error say? It says name error, name hello was not defined. What Python is trying to interpret this code as is it's trying to say, I want to print the value of a variable called hello. But before this line, did we create any variable called hello? No, right? And we didn't write anything like hello equals to 5 or hello equals to some value. But what if I literally want to see the word hello appear on screen? That's where strings come in. So I can define a string in Python by using quotes. So if I want to print hello to the screen literally, like I want to see hello, then I surround hello with double quotes or single quotes, right? And by surrounding text information in double quotes or single quotes, we're defining strings. So strings are text information in Python. Okay, so just like numbers, right? We can store strings into variables. Variables can hold text information like this, and yeah, so same logical concept applies. Just that we're storing text information instead of numbers. Okay, so just like how we can add numbers together, can we add strings together? Okay, so we see that the output is cat says meow, and so the code over here says cat says meow. You realize something, there's no spacing between says and meow, and that's because there's no spacing. There's no spacing over here. If I wrote the code differently and I had a spacing over there, we see that there is a spacing when I add them together. So the reason is because even though the spacing in the Python code between, let's say, x and the equal sign here doesn't matter, when the spacing is used in the quotes, when it's used in a string, it actually matters, because the space counts as a character. It counts as a letter, just like any other letter, C-A-T. Okay, so yeah. Okay, next thing, what if we try to multiply a number to a string? If you're unsure, you can always type it out. So we define a variable called y equals to meow. Oh, okay. So over here we define a variable y and set it to equals to meow, and print 3 times y. So if we try that out, we'll see the output is meow meow meow. And so what this means is that when you have a string multiplied by a number, then it'll repeat the string, the number of times. Okay, so if I times 4, it'll be meow 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 meow. And the reason why you said cat says meow meow meow, the reason why that's not the answer is because we didn't have an x plus 3y, x plus 3 times y over here. If we had x plus 3 times y, then yes, your answer will be correct. Okay, so this will be important when we talk about input later. Okay, so if you typed it out, you'll see that it says you are 8 years old, and that's not really the intended behavior, right? Because we basically said you are 12. We basically wanted to achieve you are 12 years old, right? But we see you are 8 years old instead, because age, even though it's the name of the variable, is inside the quotes. So that's why it was interpreted as, it's taken literally as the word age. So how do we tell Python to read the value of the variable called age instead of using the string age? So one way would be to use formatted strings. So there are a few differences over here. One thing to note is that before the double quotes, right, you need to put an F to tell Python that the string is formatted. And then after that, for whatever variable you want to print the value of, you surround it in the white curly bracket. You surround it in the curly brackets, and you see that the syntax highlighting has highlighted that this is white color instead. So it hints to you that we're reading a value of a variable instead. Okay. So variable type conversion. Okay, so what if I try something like this? Okay, so you have correctly guessed that that answer is error. And what error do we see? We see can only concatenate string to string. So what Python is basically saying is that the x is a variable that stores the word hi, right? And y is a variable that stores the number 5. When we try to add a string to a number, Python doesn't understand that. So how can we get around that? Okay, so we have created variables, but variables, the information the variable holds, the type of information the variable holds is known as the variable type. So for example, if I have a variable x that equals to hi in quotes, x is a string, right? So if I print the type of string, where I put type and then the round brackets x, if I print type of x where the x goes inside the round bracket like that, then we see class string. So it's telling me that line 3, the output is telling me that x is a variable of the type string. And if I print type y, you see that y was a number, right? So it tells me it's an integer. So variables have different types as well. There's strings, there's integers, there's other types we're going to encounter along the way. So basically, if I want to add hi with 5, I need to convert the variable y from the integer type to a string type so that I can add two strings together. Okay, because Python can only add two strings together. So how can I convert them? I can put str round bracket y like that. And now we see that output is hi 5. Understand? Any questions?
Can you explain the previous slide again?
Okay, I can't really go back to the previous slide. Okay, but the previous slide was basically saying, okay, let's take a look. We had x equals to hi, right? And y equals to 5. So if I print x, then I'm just going to see hi, right? But what if I print, so hi, okay, so variables have a variable type. Variables have a type associated with them. In this case, x stored the word hi, but what if I do type of that, then I see string. This is telling me that x is a variable, and what type of information does x store? It stores a string type of information. But if I change this to y, right, what type of information does y store? It stores the number 5. So it stores an integer, which is why we see class integer. Okay, yeah, so why does this matter, right? If you print it the screen, doesn't it say the same thing anyway? It matters because if I change y from 5 to 5 in quotes, then actually y will now be a string. Does that make sense? So what I'm trying to say is that 5 as a number like that without any quotes, I see integer. The type of y is an integer. But if I write y equals to 5 in quotes, it's taken literally as 5 as the word 5. Yeah. And so later we will see more examples of where that actually comes in, where there's a difference. So, okay, so okay, correct. There's an error because we cannot add a number. Cannot add a number to a string. So if we wanted to convert 6 from a string into an integer, then we put int like that, and then you convert 6 from 6 in quotes to 6 as a number. Okay. Okay. So why does this matter? Okay. So why does this matter? It's because if let's say I had x equals to 5 and y equals to 6, right? If I print x plus y, can you guess what the output is going to be? 11. Let's see. You see 556 instead. It's because x and y were in quotes. So x and y was taken literally. Remember the example we had where we have a equals to hello and b equals to, okay, we had an example where a equals to cat says and b equals to meow, right? And we print a plus b, we see that the output was cat says meow, right? So right now we have x equals to 5 in quotes and y equals to 5 in quotes. Is printing x plus y is taken as 56 instead of 56. Does that make sense? So if I want to remedy this, right, I need to change this from 5 in quotes to 6 to just 5 alone, and 6 in quotes to just 6. Okay, so there is a difference when you write a number in quotes versus not in quotes. Okay, and that's where the variable type comes in. Now we see 11. Okay,